Welcome everyone to the Appian 21.1 product announcement webinar. Again, my name is Malcolm Ross, VP Product Strategy, and I'll be walking you through today's content. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few interesting topics of announcement. The first, of course, is a big thank you to you, our customers and partners who've invested their time and efforts into the Appian platform. Really glad to be rewarded with a Peer Insights Customer Choice Award by Gartner as the leading platform for enterprise low-code application platforms. This is based on not the subjective opinion of an analyst, but really the actual reviews that you submitted in Gartner Peer Insights. Appian was declared the leader in almost every category for enterprise low-code application platforms. So thank you so much for your continued efforts and investment of time in the Appian platform, and really appreciate also the positive reviews on Gartner Peer Insights. In addition, if you like this webinar, of course, I'd encourage you to also catch up on our Workforce Safety version 9.0 webinar next week. It's going to be Thursday, February 25th, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, of course, available for recording for international play as well. It's going to be a detailed walkthrough of the latest features of our workforce safety solution. This came out in April last year, helps organizations around the world manage the safe return to work. So Appian Workforce Safety enables organizations to intelligently manage the complexities of returning workers on site while maintaining the privacy and security of individuals' health information. Really excited to also announce some new features around vaccination insights and vaccination management. As we're all quite excited to see us move into a new phase of the global pandemic with vaccination rollouts, the Workforce Safety solution helps you manage the implementation of those vaccines across your workforce to track who has been vaccinated, as well as the traditional features of aggregate health reporting, symptom and isolation monitoring, and incident case management of any incident of COVID-19 in your workforce. And of course, I'd like to also announce the availability of our digital event, May 11th and 12th, Appian World. More information available at appianworld.com. As expected with a digital event, all this will be both live and available in a recorded format for you to join us online to check out the latest announcements from Appian and join us in the connected possibilities of the latest Appian platform. But more importantly, we have a really exciting announcement with the Appian World Hackathon. This is going to be first a traditional online hackathon as we run in previous years. From March 1st to April 30th is the online hackathon submission period, which means that if you'd like to participate in the hackathon, that's going to be the window of participation. We're expected to both build and submit submissions to the online hackathon. But this year we actually have an extra surprise for you. We're going to pump it up a little bit with a new live build challenge as well, which is going to be live during Appian World on May 12th. If you'd like to learn more about these hackathons, check us out at community.appian.com/hackathons. But let's dig a little bit more deeper in that first online hackathon. So we've now run the online hackathon for many years. We had celebrity judges like Steve Wozniak and leading analysts like John Reimer from Forrester be judges of the hackathon. For this year, we're going to run it similar to past years, where it's really up to you to decide what you want to submit. It could be, a new solution that you had in mind. It could be something interesting. We've had Sudoku puzzles, chess games, all submitted as applications for the hackathon. Now, these can be either individual or team submissions, and multiple submissions are also allowed by those the individuals or team members. So you can have as many chances as you want to try to win the top prize. Now, the exciting thing of this year is we've actually doubled the prize amount. So now first place is going to be $10,000 US, second place $6,000, and third place $4,000. So if you'd like to check it out, again, community.appian.com/hackathons. But let's also talk about this live build challenge. Now, this is for the really confident Appian developers. So we're going to select 5 developers who apply. You'll see the application at that website again, community.appian.com/hackathons. And they're going to compete head-to-head on a live event on May 12th for a winner-take-all $10,000 prize. It's about a 1-hour competition. Not bad pay for $10,000 US for 1 hour of work. Competitors will be required to participate in some pre-event activities such as testing and verification of internet services. And of course, we're going to release some more details. But the premise is, if you're really confident with your Appian skills, your ability to build great user experiences, process models, decision rules, we're going to take out the subjective judges from hackathons and really just give a straight up challenge. Who can build it the fastest and the best? And go head-to-head competition. The attendees of Appian will be able to watch all the competitors live as they build to validate, of course, and also commentate on the skills of the Appian developers. First one to the finish, $10,000. So again, if you're interested in applying, we're going to have more details coming soon. So stay tuned for some podcasts, video casts around that, as well as check us out, community.appian.com/hackathons. So for getting on to Appian 21.1, this is going to be the first release of 2021, and we're going to plan for the same quarterly cadence of releases this year. So with another release planned in June 21.2, September 21.3, and November 21.4. Now, the 21.1 release is going to be available on March 4th. That's Thursday, March 4th, probably going into Friday in Australia. But we're going to cover today the major user experience features, low-code capabilities, admin cloud and support, and community and AppMark capabilities, all coming out with the 21.1 release. So let's get right into the user experience capabilities. The first one I always like to start with is our mobile capabilities. And now we make going mobile offline doesn't mean you have to compromise beautiful, rich UIs anymore. The offline-enabled interfaces will now have access to today's Interface Designer Toolkit and can use recently released components like gauges and tags and billboards. Developers for offline interfaces can leverage all these rich features, as well as features like stack win and even local variables to drive data inside those forms. So existing offline interfaces, if you're already using Appian offline, will be automatically converted and updated to this capability with modern styling and retaining all your existing functionality as well. So nothing you need to do. You just need to maybe spice it up a little bit with some of those new user experience capabilities that work offline. In addition, we've also improved the mobile improved user onboarding. This feature allows you to drive the usage of mobile applications while simplifying the setup process for your users and giving them more immediate access to relevant information. Once you configure the application download links in the admin console, any Appian link accessed by mobile users will be seamlessly carried through the mobile application, even if the user has to go through the app installation process first. So if we see the scenario through the screenshots, you might have a situation where a user receives an email notification about maybe a new task or dashboard. As they click on that specific link, they come in to download the Appian application if they're so prompted. As they download the application, they go to the App Store here, download the Appian app, they sign in, and that link from the original email is carried forward all the way to the actual login of the actual showing. So they don't need to go back and try to remember that email. It's going to carry forward that link through the entire experience. A great, nice little feature for mobile users. Now, an exciting thing also regarding sites. When designing your site, you now have two navigation styles to choose from. We've renamed the existing style to Helium and added a new Mercury style. We recommend using Mercury if your site has only one page configured or if you want a nice streamlined and sleek look. If you'd like to learn more about the different sites configuration, we'll have documentation available when 21.1 is released. In addition to the sites display here, you also have new configuration panes. So you can see right there, you can quickly switch between the Helium and Mercury configuration inside the site's design experience. And now we've also introduced a branding preview. So you don't need to jump out into the site or save the site. You can toggle all your settings right there, the color, logo, Helium or Mercury style, and see exactly what the look and feel is going to be at the bottom screen right in front of you. In addition, for Appian Sail, we now also allow to open links in the same or new tabs. This improves the user experience by launching navigation links by configuring them to open the same tab or a new tab. This is especially useful for situations like opening record links in a new tab to preserve the state of a user's current tab. Alternatively, you may want to have safe links to open in the same tab so that users don't end up with multiple tabs open. Choose the best way to open navigation links that meets your specific use case that can be applied to the safe link, record link, process task link, report link, or user record link controls. We also introduced a new card styling option for radio buttons and checkbox components. Not only is the card style useful in creating visually appealing interfaces, it's also particularly valuable for mobile applications by providing users with large click areas and tap targets. This is with a simple configuration in the low-code design experience. It's easy to configure that by simply selecting the different types of styling you want to apply on the choice style or the radio button style controls. In addition, we also added the links to the recently added stamp control. The stamp control came out in 2020, allows you to add nice iconic stamps for greater navigation look and feel. The linking is particularly useful for designs like the sidebar navigation panels or redirecting stamp steps to different sections of a page. Use the stamps with links for navigation in place with custom images or icons for more visually appealing interfaces. We also improve the wrapping controls. So by improving the responsive behavior for rich text, by preventing rich text from wrapping to multiple lines, there's a new parameter called prevent wrapping on the rich text component. This will truncate content to a single line to improve the look of your interfaces on narrow screens. As you can see here with a mobile device, we have a grid control. It ugly wraps now. If I want to apply that prevent wrapping, it's going to be much more elegant, a nice dense grid control there, which is not going to wrap the text inside the grid. In addition, we also added a new capability to define the character limit on paragraph and text fields. You simply don't need to define, or you don't need to define a validation control anymore to control the length of a text string you expect in an input field. Simply use the character limit parameter to find the number of characters you expect. It will automatically validate the form to make sure the number of characters is conformant with that number. In addition, we've also added additional card and billboard height controls. So these height controls offer new heights to easily fit your design to content and have more control in terms of the layout of your interface. The options include short, extra short, short plus, medium plus, as well as tall plus to get that pixel perfect design you're looking for different card or billboard height controls. We've also improved the autofill support. So you might be familiar with autofill in web browsers where it recognizes input fields of common forms like a name, credit card number, address, postal code. Well, we can now define individual fields in Appian to be associated with an input purpose. That input purpose then can communicate with the browser controls to understand the purpose of a specific field, but automatically align that with the expected data that's captured inside that browser. So the browser securely stores, say, your credit card number, recognizes the input field you designed Appian as expecting a credit card value, and then prompts the user to automatically fill that with the saved information. You can also turn the input purpose off, so you want to make sure that these autofill controls from browsers don't confuse your screen by maybe populating fields that weren't appropriate that you're expecting inside a user input form. We also introduced more interface patterns. So if you haven't explored these, it's where I usually start for building interface in Appian. You want to take a look at the patterns control under the palette. Patterns are pre-built configurations of common components, so you don't need to come and invent your own designs. There's a number of designs pre-built that you can quickly use inside the patterns control. With a 21.1 release, there's 4 new patterns: the event timeline, an inline survey, the more or less link, and the navigation with stamps, using that recent added link control for stamps as well. So again, I encourage you to, whenever you're building your brand new interfaces, take a look at patterns as a great place to start for building your user experiences with great ideas of how to match components together to create a great UI. We've also introduced new web accessibility standards conformance. This improved conformance is with the WCAG 2.1 standard. This allows you to have user settings to more tightly control and conform with web content accessibility guidelines. So this release includes an increased contrast setting for users with visual impairments to meet the WCAG 1.4.11 non-text contrast requirement. The setting can be found in the Accessibility tab in individual user settings. They simply turn that on. You'll now find that all the input boxes, grid controls, have a high contrast outline around those individual controls. It's very useful for people with difficulty seeing. They can see that increased contrast and more easily distinguish all the fields. We also improved Apple VoiceOver support for Apple operating system-based platforms. This provides a readability text capability to automatically read content from a screen that you've designed inside the Appian user experience. And finally, I'd like to welcome all of our Greek speakers that Appian now supports the Greek language natively. Administrators have the option of enabling Greek on the internationalization page of the admin console. Once enabled, users can choose Greek as their language settings throughout the entire user experience, including the design time experience. Now that's all the end user capabilities, but let's transition over to our low-code development capabilities. First of which is probably one of my favorite features, which is the browser icons for design objects. So you might have had this challenge, like myself, where I'm building a lot in the Appian platform. And as we know, each one of the designers, the process modeler, interface designer, decision designer, each have a separate tab for which I'm navigating across. And when you have lots of work going on, you have lots of tabs, all with that Appian A icon throughout. To make that easier to navigate all those different tabs, each of the designer interfaces now will have a different Fav icon inside the tab. So I can easily distinguish between my interfaces, record types, decision rules, sites, process models, easily distinguished by looking at their individual icons right there. Now, of course, this control actually is optional. So if you simply go to the settings of individual users, you can actually turn that off and on based on your designer preferences. Some customers might be using like a DevOps tools to modify the icons or the Fav icons for their dev test production environment. If you want to maintain that behavior, you can simply check that box and maybe maintain the old behavior before 21.1. For Appian expressions, this release, Appian helps you by highlighting risky expression patterns before they become problems. As you build your applications, our live recommendations will guide you to create and maintain maintainable expressions and discover potential issues with existing objects. The new expressions recommendations check for unrecognized rule parameters, unused rule inputs, and even more. You can find them in interfaces, expression rules, web APIs, and even the Appian RPA design console. While building, a light bulb in the object header or expression editor will direct your attention to the relevant lines. As is the case with the Appian's other recommendations, expression recommendations also appear inside the Health dashboard under the Monitoring tab of the entire application. And of course, we also enhance some of those recommendations in the Appian Process Modeler. We support even more design time recommendations as you're building a process, such as checking that dynamic process names exist, dynamic task names exist. These are best practices for building on the Appian platform, as well as process alert settings and asynchronous sub-process capabilities. So we'll automatically scan these, report these inside the Appian Process Modeler to make sure you're following best practices, as well as show these in the overall summary of an application or the entire platform in the Monitoring Health dashboard view. We've also improved the language support for process modeling. This applies to the searching for smart services and the process model validation messages. So if you speak Greek, Japanese, Chinese, French, German, you'll see even more content inside the Appian Process Modeler in your local language for finding specific smart services or maybe reading some of those validation messages we just talked about. In addition, we've also made it easier to view process histories. From the monitoring view, if you click on the Process Activity tab, you no longer need to open the entire process modeler to see the process history. Simply click on the History button to quickly view the history of any process inside the system. But it gets even better than that. You can also see all the archive processes across the entire environment. So inside here, you can see the individual archives. I don't need to unarchive content anymore. I simply select the archive processes I want to view, click on the History tab, and automatically shows me all the history of that specific process. So great feature if you've been struggling to pull back all those archive processes. You no longer need to submit support requests to see archives. They're always going to be right there for your viewing. Just click on History, you can see them right away. For Appian constants, we also allow for faster duplication. Simply select a constant, you'll see a new duplicate button available to you. The duplicate button can simply allow you to easily duplicate, copy, and reuse that constant in another area of the product. Very useful if I'm trying to create many different kinds of, or many similar kinds of constants across the entire Appian application. And we've also improved decisions with improved grid icons. This is a minor improvement, but basically trying to make the consistency of the overall styling of the design experience more consistent with other areas. So improving some of the icons as well as the hover over captions, making it easier to understand the intent of each individual objects if I want to duplicate rows or move them up and down as we see in the controls. Now the bigger feature for Appian design experience is what we call collaborative packages. Collaborative packages allows a developer to make multiple packages to track work with links to tickets and project management tools. Packages are visible to all developers with access to the application. So it's a really great feature if you're trying to maybe have a Jira ticket that I'm correlating with some work inside Appian. You can now make those modifications in Appian, associate them to the Jira ticket, and then simply save that as a package. That package, again, will be shared across multiple developers, so developers can see all the work going into a specific application with links to those Jira tickets, and then easily modify and also push those through the DevOps lifecycle. In addition, we also add some capabilities on merging expression logic. You can easily inspect and merge changes in expressions during deployment now. So as I look at the entire expression logic for maybe interfaces or expression rules, as I identifies differences between the, say, the dev and the test environment in this example, I want to maybe choose how I want to merge the content together. So you have that merge capability to simply quickly merge the content and then push it through the lifecycle. We've also added the ability to do asynchronous package inspection. Sometimes when you have very large application packages that need to go through the DevOps lifecycle of compare and deploy, it can take a long amount of time. Now we're going to run these behind the scenes asynchronously, allowing you to maybe take a look at the security warnings, the test results, and be more productive during that entire process of inspection. So this allows you to, again, do more work while not simply waiting for a load bar before you can actually inspect some of the areas of the application package. And finally, for DevOps features, we allow for smarter conflict detection. Specifically, we've improved the comparison of applications across environments. If the only difference in your application is the number of objects it contains or its version history, you'll now get a not changed status, providing you with a clear picture of your deployment. Let's take a look at some of these DevOps features we introduced in Appian 21.1. So here I am in an Appian design experience, and let me go ahead and do my ticket application and take a look at how that DevOps feature works of comparing and deploying. Let me go ahead and delete this record. I don't need that. Go ahead and delete that. And now I have the simple formatting of a name expression. So let's go ahead and see if I modify this, what happens. So it looks like at some point a user had added maybe a middle name. So I'm going to format a username. Then I'm going to take that username and make it the first name, middle name, and last name. And maybe my business user said, we really don't need the middle name. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out just like this. I go ahead and just delete that. And I'm going to go ahead and delete the comment here as well and go ahead and hit save just like this. So I made my modification to my application. I'm going to change the formatting of names inside the entire environment. And now I need to add that to a package. So let's go ahead and say, well, let's go ahead and maybe add a package, create a new package. I'm going to say update by removing middle name. This is going to be associated with maybe a ticket of mine. So I have a Jira environment, jira.com/a ticket number, and I removed the middle name per request by the business. Hit add just like this. So I made my change and I have my package. Now if I want to see all the packages with this application, simply go up in the upper right to the drop down. I can see all the different packages. You can see update by removing middle name. If I select that package, I can now see the contents of that package. The contents of the package are always a subset of the application. So, and then of course, I can also maybe add other elements inside the environment. So if I can add maybe objects outside of the application, I can add those right here, as well as see the ticket link. If I need to go to the Jira ticket, it's all available to me right here. And I have that audit trail of who's actually been working inside this package and what notes are associated with it as well. Now, when it comes time to deploy this package to my test environment, let's go ahead and hit compare and deploy. As I choose that compare and deploy, I can see now I'm going to go to my Appian test server, hit next, and now I can choose see my different packages. So I'm going to choose my update by removing middle name package. You can see this includes this one expression rule, and this is different from what's inside my target test environment. So let's go click on that change link to get that visual diff and do my content merge. So it looks like, yes, here's my element that's changed. I can see exactly what's been removed, the middle name here. And I can see exactly also these comments. You know what, those comments, I'd maybe like to preserve that. So let's go ahead and hit edit. I had it open already, so I'm going to close it here and choose to move that. I'd like to preserve the comments. I'm going to merge the changes between my two environments into a single package now. Make that save the change. There we go. And now I can continue my deployment process. Hit next. It's going to inspect the entire package. Everything looks perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and hit deploy. I do have the option here if I like to delete that package after deployment. You don't need to keep it around if that ticket's closed out. Fine, great, I can delete it. Go ahead and hit deploy, and now it's off to be deployed on that target environment, just like that. And deployment's in progress, and I can always view the deployment details right here to validate that it's being deployed. And there it is in progress, and let's see, there it is completed. So that's successfully now deployed to my test environment. So great way again to combine kind of fluid DevOps with multiple developers, tracking all the different packages. You can have lots of different work going on in a single application with different packages. Important nomenclature change there with the word patches no longer applies. It's now using packages instead, and those manage kind of your changes to individual applications. So let's go back to my presentation here and on to the next topic of what we're calling low-code data in the Appian platform. Now, if you've been tracking Appian over the past few releases, 20.3 to 21.1, we've been introducing a new feature called Record Sync. Record Sync is specifically designed to deliver a benefit to our customers and also solve many challenges. Many of us have a view of, you building applications, or a desire rather to build applications that have a complete view of enterprise data. It's often a challenge at data siloed across many systems, causing maybe slow or inaccurate decision making. So you want to make smart decisions and accelerate business operations by building really smarter applications around the disparate data of your entire enterprise. The challenge with that, though, is you can't really rely on all those data sources. Some of those data sources might be slow performing. Some of them they may be throttled. You can only do so many connections or so many API calls a second. Data is not maybe optimized for the way you want to use it. Even though I have a relational database, it's not necessarily designed for fast aggregations, reporting, or analytics, or maybe high volume reads, or even searching. And of course, you might have restricted or limited access to those data sources. Usually in between that line between the data and my application, there's a person in place. That person maybe manages access to that Oracle Salesforce system. If you need changes, you got to go through that person. If I need to maybe optimize a relational database table with an indice, or maybe create a view, it's more complication of going through that DBA to optimize that data for my specific needs, slowing down the overall development lifecycle. Appian's solution to this is the new Appian Record Sync architecture, allowing you to create a sync data inside the Appian platform as a localized data store that synchronizes that data with your backend systems. So it is a replication or view of your data sources of truth, but doesn't replace those data sources of truth. It's simply going to sync with them. As we sync multiple data sources, then I can build applications more fluidly directly across that data. Now, as I mentioned, this has started to roll out in 20.3. The initial rollout allowed you to have a maximum number of 50,000 rows per data sync, or per record on those syncs. In 20.4, we increased that to 100,000. And in 21.1, we've now increased that to 250,000. So that is 250,000 rows with, I believe, 100 columns per record type. So you can have multiple record types all syncing. Each one can have up to 250,000 rows of data within it. So how you use this then is there's a lot of capabilities both have come out and are coming out in the Appian platform that allow you to take advantage and build really great experiences around the synchronized data. So if you haven't started using this, highly encourage exploring some of these features. The very first of which is if you want to easily filter data sources. I don't necessarily need to know complex SQL statements with where conditions, or do I need to know maybe how to navigate Salesforce's APIs. If you want to easily filter sources from relational database or Salesforce, there's now a point-and-click configuration for configuring those source filters. As you can see, it not only allows me to do hard-coded values, but also expression values. I can have dynamic date ranges or expression logic drive those filters with each time I sync the data inside the Appian platform. In addition, we also made it easier to inspect and resolve those sync errors. You can identify issues when a sync fails using like write to data store entity or a Salesforce integration, and alerts also available inside the monitoring view as a consolidated dashboard of all issues you might have in your applications. But more importantly, we've enhanced the charting capabilities such as the pie chart, bar chart, column chart, line chart to easily build analytical reports across this data. So again, even if I have a data source that's not optimized for reporting and fast aggregations, the sync is going to give you that capability. And now with the 21.1 capabilities, you also have the ability to define multiple measurements across that data. So here's another example where I can also build on the 21.1 release, having interactive charts using the record sync capability. So as I build this dynamic pie chart, I can go ahead and click on the different wedges and have that automatically pass linking behavior to another element, such as this grid control on the right-hand side. For all record types, even those not synced, we also add the ability to have dynamic date ranges for records. So this allows you to have, say, a range of open-ended or specific value to a specific value if I want to search for a specific date field within a date range. And also we allowed the aggregations and record queries. Query record type function came out in 2020 to take advantage of the record sync data and make it easy to query data across your records environment. In the 21.1 release, we add the ability to do aggregations. This allows you to do groupings, measurements. So really using the nature of the localized sync data to do those fast aggregations and intelligence, business intelligence inside the Appian platform. You might want to massage in a more custom way using the expression query record type. And finally, we also made it easier to reference records faster while building expressions. Before 21.1, you had to type record type bang in order to start referencing a specific record. Now, anywhere inside the expression editor, you simply start typing the name of the record you want. We'll automatically start matching that with all the records inside the Appian system. Not only that, you no longer need to hit the dots and then fields and then select the individual elements you might want. Simply type in the, say, Best Buy product here, and then after that, type in the name of the object you want. It'll automatically navigate to that field inside the expression builder. In a final feature for Appian Records that applies to all records, you also now have the ability to turn off the news view and related actions view. So if you want to have a more customized view of how you want to show your records views, simply check those boxes to turn off news and related actions. That will disable these two tabs right here. And then you can control all the tabs that are available to your end users for each record inside the Appian platform. Now let's take a look at this inside an actual demo here. I'm going to go into my Best Buy example. And for those of you who are not in the United States, Best Buy is a major retailer based in the United States, which sells consumer electronics, things like computers, TV monitors, and home appliances, dishwashers, refrigerators, things like that. And Best Buy is an interesting data source because first, I'm syncing a pretty large set of data. They have 140,157 products inside their product catalog, pretty large data set. But more interestingly, they have a fantastic API. So I created a record type that syncs with the Best Buy API. Now their API has some interesting aspects, such as it only allows 5 API calls per second. And each API call can only return up to 100 rows of data. So going through this entire record sync, you can see actually takes over 20 minutes in order to actually sync all that data into the Appian platform. As you can imagine as well, none of their APIs are designed for high performance analytics across it. I can't do aggregations, see all, say, Samsung products inside the TV category. You can't do that with their APIs. It's limited to what they've prescribed. So if I want to now work with that data, I can set up now a record type that syncs with that backend data source and now has all those hundreds of thousands of rows locally in the Appian platform. Great use case of why you want to use this. Now let's see what we can do once we have it. I'm going to go to my Best Buy reports view here, and now I have a blank dashboard. The very first thing I like to do is maybe grab a bar chart and say, well, yeah, I'd love to slice and dice this data coming over from Best Buy. As I click on that bar chart, I have now an option here that says, well, I want to define the record type as a data source, and that's going to be, say, the Best Buy record type right here. As I choose the Best Buy record type, it's going to take those 140,000 rows and show them to me right away. It's showing me the count of the UIDs. Now, any chart like this is going to be limited to only showing 5,000 rows for performance reasons. I don't want to show 140,000 rows of data for obvious reasons. But let's say I want to now aggregate this. I want to aggregate this by, say, which department each one of those products is in. So very quickly now, it's giving me the count of all the UIDs, and I can see the majority of Best Buy's product catalog is in videos and compact discs, second to only appliances. Now, if I want to maybe take a look at maybe the average of all the prices, let's see which product category or department has the highest price items. As you expect, appliances are the highest price, followed by home theater equipment, and then computers. I can see actually the average prices across those areas right there. Now, again, with 21.1, we allow for multiple measurements. So if I want to go ahead and say, let's add a measure here and choose the average of also the sale price. And by the way, I just synced this data yesterday. So this is all pretty much close to live data across the Best Buy data source. Now I can see which prices are actually comparing. So how much of a discount they're usually offering across, on average, all their product categories. You can see there's a little bit of a discount. One thing that you have to know whenever you go to Best Buy is that they never discount their warranties, right? They're exact same price in the sale price and the regular price for warranties. So interesting ways of kind of now slicing, dicing data across any of these data sources. So let's take a look at maybe some of those other features. And one of the other things we talked about was the ability to have dynamic kind of interactions between elements. So let's go take a pie chart now instead. Define this as a record type, again the Best Buy product record type. And for this, I'm going to choose, well, let's just choose the same one. I want to choose maybe the department again. And again, let's just do the average of the price again. So there we go. Same content kind of shown as a pie chart, which types of products by Best Buy typically have the highest price. Now I want to select a wedge of that pie, so I'm going to create a variable here, a rule input called selection. I'm going to make this any type, hit create. And now I want to map my selection here. So if I click on a wedge of the pie, I want to save that right there. So with Appian 21.1, we make that very easy with this insert link functionality. Simply click on insert link. That's going to recognize now I have a dynamic link control on my pie chart. And I simply say, well, I want to save whatever they click on to the selection value. And I'm done. So now if I click on that appliance right there, I can see inside my content, well, there it is. Department primary grouping right there is appliance. I'm going to save that value right there. And there's my value. If I click over, say on Magnolia Home Theater, changes the value there. Click on video, I can see how it's updating my selection. Now I would like to though map this to maybe filtering a grid control. So let's go ahead and find that read-only grid, drag and drop. And now I have my grid control also allow me to source it from a record. So let's go ahead and choose that Best Buy product record. And of course, as setting up the record type, I'd already configured a grid. So Appian's going to be smart enough to know to recognize that other grid and show that entire grid control right here. I no longer need to maybe set a separate search window or filters. I can use the search right here. I don't need to rebuild these controls on that grid. They're going to be all part of the grid control for that sync record type. As well, if I want to use some of those predefined filters, I can simply quickly add those predefined user filters that I'd set up in the record type configuration. Such as I'd love to see maybe any products that have high customer reviews. So go ahead and choose customer review and go ahead and say I'd like to see all Samsung products that are rated 4 stars or higher, just like this. Now, of course, what I really want to do is filter this grid based on what I select in the pie chart. So again, going back to my grid control, I have an option right here called filter records. As I choose filter records, I have this nice intuitive filter control, which says, well, yeah, I'd like to take a look at my grid fields. Here's all my grid fields that are all the Best Buy product catalog. Go ahead and choose department. I want to map that value to either this text I'm going to write, maybe one of my variables, or maybe an expression. So let's choose an expression here. And for that expression, I'm going to choose that RI Bank selection dot department primary grouping, just like that. Now that I have that saved, hit OK. And now whatever I choose in the pie chart, so if I choose, right now it's on video, if I choose appliance, we're going to see that grid filter and automatically refresh the grid to show just appliances. I can also apply, of course, additional filters, like this is just showing my 4-star or higher appliances. They're showing Frigidaire, Ninja cooling system, a wine fridge. Let's go ahead and show maybe warranties. Check out all my warranties that have 4-star reviews or higher. So there it is, all the standard Geek Squad warranty, all the different warranties that they also offer inside the environment. So again, really encourage you, if you haven't checked out this feature, super powerful. You have a really powerful analytics reporting capabilities across any data source that you connect and sync with the Appian platform. So really look forward to you getting your hands on it and seeing what types of reports you build. So let's move on and talk a little bit more about low-code intelligent document processing. So intelligent document processing is a feature that we introduced in 2020 that allows you to ingest PDFs and automatically use AI services by both natively in Appian as well as by a third-party provider, Google, which can ship with Appian, and turn those PDFs into the structured data capabilities. So these can not only do extraction of the content, but they also classify the content. They know if it's an invoice or a purchase order or receipt. They'll look at the content, identify the type, and then route it appropriately for proper extraction. Now, if you haven't seen IDP, this is available. If you simply go to the Appian software downloads page, you can download the IDP module and install on your local environments. I have a copy here, so let's go ahead and jump into IDP. Now, IDP is all designed to be headless. So it's designed to just ingest mass documents and without any interactions, have it automatically classify and extract that content. As you can see, it's doing that right here, where I have maybe an invoice that's come in. It was pre-classified and it was 93% accurate on the extraction accuracy, and it took this much time to reconcile it. Same thing down here, I see a report by the AI or human capabilities of how confident those extractions were. Now, when it was not confident, it's going to send that off to a human for reconciliation. Reconciliation means that a human's going to correct the AI service and then also train the AI service by making those corrections. So if I go to my task view here, I can see now all the tasks have been assigned. And here's one to say, reconcile invoice with line items, sample invoice 6. I'm going to open that up. I'm going to accept that task. And now I can start training the AI system. I can see that it didn't identify the invoice number. So let's go ahead and select that element right here. And now I've done that mapping. So I've trained the AI system to say, actually, that looks like the original one I need. So invoice number right there. So as I click on that element right here, it's going to map that and it's going to remember that in the AI engine. So the AI service will then be smarter when it receives another invoice that's similar to this. It'll remember where to extract that content and map it. So it's not going to kick it out to a human for reconciliation. After the human's done, they simply navigate down, say, looks like I have a few more options here, like my tax rate, 5.25%. If I go to the bottom of the screen, I can also reconcile that entire interface. So now I'm done. It's pushed on. I've done my extractions. Now, as you use this more and more, we expect this type of behavior where initial classification and extraction will start low, but the more you interact with it, the smarter the AI engine becomes. And again, the more that you get straight through processing, where it's going to automatically just extract it without any human interaction whatsoever. So we have a few features coming out with Appian IDP with 21.1 to enhance that experience. The first of which is the addition for Appian's local engine to do key value pairs for searchable PDFs. Now this is in preview, which means that we're getting ready to finalize this feature, but you're welcome to start using this to try it out on your own services. If you have searchable PDFs, those can now identify key value pairs natively inside the Appian environment. Google AI services provide enhancement for flattened searchable PDFs as well, with a little bit more controls for checkboxes and tables. Now, what's good for the Appian product? Appian's key value pair extraction preview works best for digitized PDFs with structured or semi-structured formats like these. On the left-hand side, we see like a fillable PDF document. That's a document maybe that was routed to a customer. They typed in a computer, filled out all the forms, and then saved that. On the right, we see a more structured PDF, which might have searchable content behind the scenes. So it's maybe machine generated, but it's not fillable. So these are the types of PDF content that's perfect for the Appian local systems. Things like raw images, that would be best used for the Google AI service, which also can ship with the Appian product. Now, inside the IDP capabilities, we also offer the ability to deactivate a document channel. Document channels you set for different document types like purchase orders, invoices, and if I want to enable those, disabling them allows me to ensure I have no additional AutoML transactions for continuous machine learning, and I can always reactivate those at a later time. And if I've been using Google Cloud services for my machine learning services for maybe some of those more advanced document types, you can now delete those models using this helper process. So if you want to clean up all your models behind the scenes, maybe reset the system, the DU delete models from GCP process allows you to do that very quickly and efficiently. Now let's talk a little bit more about low-code RPA, one of my favorite topics. In 2020, we introduced our RPA module, and starting in 2020, in the 20.4 release, just the last release, we have a lot of really powerful low-code design capabilities. With 21.1, we're really excited to be announcing the computer vision capabilities in a low-code design experience with Appian RPA. So robotic process automation is the idea of creating scripts that repeat those or eliminate repetitive human tasks or integrate to those unreachable systems behind the scenes. Computer vision allows you to train a computer or a robot to interact with a computer just like a human does by looking for icons, looking for text fields, selecting and clicking on those. And you can now do that completely without any code in a point and click manner. The Appian RPA computer vision module leverages the Appian RPA agent. So inside the agent control, you're going to use that a little selector there that says create support image. That create support image allows to capture individual icons or graphics inside the system that's going to be used to train the AI system inside the Appian platform. So 1 second. The workspace is slowly filling up. So why I'm using Amazon Workspace here is I'm trying to emulate a common scenario where maybe have a contact center agent or someone who has to interact with a Citrix screen. And that the only way to interact with this backend interface, there it goes, is to basically go through a computer vision by using kind of the image recognition. Now I can see SAP is installed on this kind of Windows environment in my Amazon Workspaces. So let's go ahead and interact with that by saying creating a support image. As I choose create support image, that's going to take a snapshot of the entire interface. And now I want to train my computer vision system. So I'm going to choose my computer vision robotic process right here. That's going to identify some of the support images I've already taken. And now I want to identify the icon I want to see, which is my SAP logo. Go ahead and select this, and let's zoom in. So when you're creating a support image like this to train the Falcon AI engine in Appian, you want to make sure you get just the icon. So you can see how I'm trimming it to just not have any edges there. I just want the icon. That's going to be a better snapshot to train it better. So I'm going to save that as SAP logo 4 in my computer vision robotic process. Now, let's go back here. Let's double click on that SAP. I'm going to launch SAP now and go through it just like a human would. So the next thing the human needs to do is they need to log into the target system. So I have a log on button right down here. So again, let's take a support image, create support image, just like this. As I go down, let's go ahead to my screen. I see my log on is right there. And again, I want to maybe zoom in on that, make sure I get just the login button. I don't want the extraneous pixels that aren't that log on. And go ahead and hit my computer vision process right here. And I'm going to call that log on 4, just like this. So this is how I train the engine. The very first thing I need to do is identify the click areas that I want to tell the robotic process to interact with. Let's go ahead and close SAP. Now, once I have that done, I can go back into my RPA environment. So let's go to the Appian RPA Design Console. As I go into the Design Console, I can see I have my Computer Vision 2 robotic process right there. As I click on it, go to my settings configuration, I have a simple two-step process that's going to open SAP and then log on to SAP. So if I click on the configuration, I have a new category here in the 21.1 release of Appian, which includes this image recognition, locate image. Now, as I choose locate image, I can see all the images that I had saved already. So my SAP logo right there. I'm going to look for the SAP logo across the entire screen. I don't want to wait. And then once I find the logo, I want to left mouse click on it twice in the center of the logo. If there's an exception, I want to throw an exception and capture a screenshot so someone can understand what went wrong with the robotic process. I can also offset. So if I say I need to maybe click a few clicks maybe to the right or left, I can define the pixel offset right there as well. Let's go ahead and hit OK there. And as I select my logon, same thing. I want to identify the logon, but here I know that SAP takes a few seconds to load. So I'm going to have a 20-second wait time while I'm looking for the logon button. When I find the logon button, I want to left single click the center of the logon button, and that's it. So let's go ahead and give this a run, see what happens. Hit play. I'm going to choose my Mac machine. One of the best features I love about Appian RPA is the multi-platform operation, that you can do this on Linux, Mac, Windows, any operating system you want. You can build scripts and run those scripts seamlessly across all those environments. Let's go ahead and see if it finds the SAP logon. There it is. You can trust me, my hands are not touching the computer right now. Then it's going to find that logon button right there and go to the logon. So there it is, a robotic process action using pure computer vision to interact with it. And it has a lot of intelligence to identify the pixels. So if the pixel moves around, it's maybe a slightly different color. We have some intelligence baked in to identify those images wherever they are on the screen. Now, in addition to Appian's computer vision capabilities, we also introduce improved web browser interactions, such as handling and iterating inside and out of iframes. So if you have a web page that has an iframe, you can jump out of the iframe using the select frame action. You can also easily pass credentials. So Appian allows you to securely store credentials that the robots need to use. Now, instead of having to type those in or reference those, you simply say update value with username or update value with password as I maybe identify a text box and then I want to log on. Then you can choose all the save, cache, user IDs, and passwords inside the Appian system to store those credentials securely. The robotic designers don't necessarily ever need to see those passwords, but they can pass them easily to the robot. And in addition, a number of other new actions, such as easily downloading documents to and from Appian. So if I need to have a robotic process, maybe interact with a web page, download a document, and then I want to pass that document over to the Appian platform and saving it inside the Appian document management store. You can do all that now with no code. Also controlling granular mouse clicks, double clicks, and even dragging and dropping elements around the screen. And also existing low-code actions, such as web browser actions, have been updated with new configurations for wait times and screenshots, as well as passing data types and expressions into parameters as start process actions. Also, with the Appian RPA modules, you now have a new module to report results for individual items. Now, item is simply steps inside the process. As you go through a robotic process, I might want to report results of what the status is and what information it gathered. So you can use the report items or set items basically action to report things inside the results console. So here I had one that looked up the price of Appian stock, went ahead and fetched that, and then reported it in the sentence right here. And finally, with Appian RPA, we have a new cleanup section. So when you build a robotic process in Appian, you have two sections primarily. If I go into the right here, say my robotic process, I have a main section. And now with Appian 21.1, you also have what's called a cleanup section. The cleanup section is basically another script that's going to run whenever an exception or the robot completes. The point of a cleanup is to ensure that the resource is ready for the next robotic process. So it's going to reset the machine to its original state and make sure that it's ready to continue processing, even if an exception occurred in the prior application. Now, Appian RPA is also complemented with a tool called Robotic Workforce Manager. And the Robotic Workforce Manager tool also supports other leading RPA platforms such as UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Blue Prism. For our Blue Prism module, we have some enhancements to Robotic Workforce Manager to start and terminate Blue Prism RPA processes, schedule Blue Prism process terminations, and do bulk starts of Blue Prism processes and select resources. Now, Robotic Workforce Manager also has an enhancement in 21.1 for deeper insights into ROI using RPA metrics to calculate break-even and projected versus actual costs and benefits. It's a great feature. If you ever ask yourself, if I invest in RPA, what is the value I'm actually getting from these tools? We combine the actual metrics of your RPA tools against the estimates of what you actually would pay humans or other people to give you direct reports of the cost savings of implementing RPA in the Appian product. Now, with our admin, cloud, and support features, we're happy to announce that Appian's achieved two new ISO certifications, ISO 27017 and 27018. These are specifically third-party audited security controls for cloud service providers and management of cloud infrastructure, as well as management of personally identifiable information within cloud environments. We also now support Microsoft SQL Server 2019 as both the Appian data source and the business data source for Appian 21.1. And if you've been using our support console, you might be familiar with the Insights console. Insights has now been rebranded as My Appian, and this is a central place for managing your Appian environments and support cases, as well as giving a view of health check summaries and system metrics. So trying to improve the support experience by, as you log into My Appian now, you see all your Appian cloud instances, the current status of what's going on, CPU usage, all your open support tickets, and of course, all the information about your support level and how long you've been a customer of Appian. We also have improved resiliency and high availability. So our high availability offering is for Appian Cloud Premier customers. It provides triple redundancy of any Appian environment. Now, what we've improved in 21.1 is the form submissions, which allows form submissions to be uninterrupted in the event of an entire data center failure. Work in progress on a form will be preserved and the form can be submitted without errors. So this means as a user is trying to submit a form and during that form submission time, let's say the entire data center goes down, well, Appian replicates the entire active environment to two alternative data centers, The information will instantly fail over to the alternative data center, and your users shouldn't experience any interruption in their work. And finally, with our community and app market updates, we hope you've been enjoying some of the great updates to the user experience and styling of the new Appian community at community.appian.com. We also just want to highlight 2 new sections, one called Learn, which has new role-based learning journeys with new advanced courses. These are Appian applied development, advanced user experience design, and delivery methodology. So it's a great way if you're new or experienced with Appian to go check out the Learn tab in community.appian.com. Choose your role, whether you're a leader, a planner, a builder, administrator, to see the targeted training and methodology information for your specific needs. And also we've consolidated a lot of information under the Success tab as well. The Success tab highlights, of course, important things like the developer playbook, Appian training and knowledge base, as well as success services and the Appian Guarantee program. A nice place to make sure you have all the necessary elements to make sure your next project is a success. And finally, for those who've been contributing to the Appian application market, thank you very much. We really appreciate all the contributions. The app market continues to be a very rich and diverse experience with many developers, partners, and customers contributing new plugins, applications, and extensions that enhance all of our application designs. One of them I'd like to call out, which is actually a new UIPath listing update. The UIPath listing update allows for on-premise versions of plugin to now support folders. So this means that users can now filter and make calls using the UIPath folder construct. And that's it for Appian 21.1. And thanks everyone. Hope you had a great day, and we'll see you at Appian World coming up on May 11th.